It gets very busy in a National Weather Service office when severe conditions spring up. Jacob Morse went to see those responsible for covering 36 counties in western and central North Dakota to learn how they prepare.
Much like you have to have a plan in place in case severe weather strikes your town, the National Weather Service in Bismarck also needs to prepare before they start tracking storms and issuing warnings. On a quiet weather day, usually only 2 meteorologists are needed in the office, one to make forecasts and one to monitor social media and take official observations. However, on a really busy severe weather day, upwards of 8 to 11 meteorologists get called in.
An event coordinator who's kind of making sure everybody's doing okay, everybody's not too tired, and just kind of keeping an eye on the big picture. We'll have 2 to 3 radar teams. A radar team consists of 2 people. You'll usually have one person drawing the polygons, really analyzing the rotation if we're looking at a tornado threat, and just looking at a number of different things for hail and wind. And then we'll have another person who's looking maybe more in depth at some of the more advanced data.
A dedicated person will also be monitoring the environmental conditions, called a mesoanalyst.
So we're really just trying to get a really good grasp of what is the current state of the atmosphere and how that might contribute to the potential severe weather event.
Someone will also be monitoring social media, a role that has become more important recently.
Social media has become a much bigger form of communication for us over the last 5 to 7 years.
The bigger severe events will be on the NWS's radar a couple of days in advance, but sometimes bringing in more staff happens the day of.
A lot of times when we actually make the decision to get the extra people in will be when SPC, the Storm Prediction Center, is contemplating some kind of severe watch.
All these meteorologists then work together to issue, among other things, severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings across our area. In Bismarck, I'm Jacob Morse reporting for your news leader.
Severe thunderstorms and tornado warnings pinpoint what areas are at the highest risk. Jacob Morse went to the National Weather Service to learn how these warnings are drawn.
Respect the polygon. Within one of them, hail, damaging winds, or tornadoes can be destructive. Meteorologists at the National Weather Service need to take a lot into consideration when drawing them.
There's 2 out of 3 rules. So we have the radar, the environment, and then reports. So if we have 2 out of those 3, then that really increases our confidence that we're dealing with severe weather. If only one of those is true, then that's more cause for evaluation and more careful consideration to whether or not it's something that we need to warn the public of.
Once it's determined through one of these that severe weather is likely occurring or imminent, a warning will be drawn.
So I'm going to issue a severe thunderstorm warning for this section of the line right here. I'm going to match these points up with the line here. And then we're going to kind of get a motion to the line. So kind of go back in time a little bit, drag the line back to where it is so we can kind of get a storm track, if you will.
A first guess box is then shown, and the meteorologist adjusts the area of it before selecting a few more options.
What's our reasoning for the warning? Do we have reports, or is it because we're seeing something severe on radar?
And a severe thunderstorm warning can be one of 3 classifications, with rare destructive level warnings triggering a wireless emergency alert on your phone. The text of the warning will then be reviewed before it's sent out to the public. This whole process needs to be completed in ideally under a minute.
We want to be as efficient as we can, but we also want to be accurate.
Just remember that when a warning is issued for your location, seek shelter immediately. In Bismarck, I'm Jacob Morse reporting for your news leader.
The National Weather Service did report a tornado in Wilton, but says there was no damage to structures. And Jacob is here with more on that.
Yeah, and Bella, with that tornado report, the National Weather Service did issue a tornado warning for parts of northwest Burleigh County last night. And I went to the National Weather Service office to find out what the decision process is like when drawing these polygons. Velocity mode on radar is used to assess where winds within storms are rotating, which could lead to a tornado. Meteorologists also look for a hook echo to identify where a tornado could be.
I've dragged my point there. I'm going to go back in time for a few minutes so I can get a good track on this feature. So again, it looks like it's kind of moving maybe to the southeast a little bit. So I get my storm motion, then I hit the track button again, so that gives me my first guess polygon.
After selecting a few more options, the tornado warning is then ready to be sent out to the public, but you need to make sure that you have multiple ways to receive it. Watching us on TV and checking your First Warn weather app, as well as receiving our weather call service or wireless emergency alerts on your phone are good options. If you're outdoors and near one, a tornado siren can alert you, but having a NOAA weather radio in your home will directly warn you of the incoming threat. If you're in a tornado warning polygon, seek shelter immediately on the lowest level in an interior room of your home, and mobile homes are not a safe place to be during tornadoes. Identifying your safe place before the storm strikes is crucial.
Science has come a very long ways, but we still can't predict with 100% accuracy there's going to be a tornado here. It's going to move like this in a half hour. So it's really a balance of making sure that we give people that are in the threat area enough of a lead time and account for uncertainty in storm motion and storm evolution, but at the same time not overwarning people.
And certain statistics are used to help improve tornado warning accuracy.
There's been a lot of research that's been devoted to tornado genesis and how we can better anticipate the threat of tornadoes.
Now, North Dakota averages about 30 tornadoes per year, with June and July being the most active months.
When severe weather strikes, National Weather Service meteorologists need to act like detectives to determine what caused the damage. Jacob Morse has details on the damage survey process.
After the NWS is alerted to damage from severe thunderstorms by emergency management, law enforcement, or the public, they might travel to survey it.
The first thing we have to determine is how intense the storm was, what type of damage was done, were there any injuries or deaths. Now, if there were any deaths or injuries, we're going to go out and damage survey to determine, was it high wind that did the damage or was it a tornado?
To help make that determination, they need to get to the scene as soon as possible.
We want the evidence to be what it was before anybody moved anything.
The meteorologists use a set of 28 damage indicators to rate the severity of the damage.
Once we find our damage indicator, a pole, a light pole, a tree, was it a softwood tree or a hardwood tree? Once we determine that damage indicator, then we look for, well, how badly was this thing damaged? And that's what takes us up on the scale.
These damage indicators can be used to determine the EF rating of a tornado or the magnitude of winds.
You determine the damage, and then from that, the wind speed falls out from there.
Tornado damage will usually be convergent and left in circular patterns, whereas debris from high-end winds is typically pushed in a divergent pattern.
We have to be careful when we assume, oh, this had to be a tornado. We hear that a lot. When I go to survey the damage, in my mind is this was not a tornado, and now I need the evidence to change my mind to say it was.
The National Weather Service hopes to increase the number of damage indicators on its list so that fewer tornadoes get an EF unknown rating like the one near Wilton on August 1st. That was one of a few surveys conducted this year, the others being when high winds caused extensive damage in the Beulah Bay and Hazen Bay areas on that same day, as well as in Sioux County in June. And if you ever experienced damage from a severe thunderstorm,
think of the National Weather Service. Give us a call and let us know. You don't have to give us your name or things like that if you don't want to. We'd like to have that so we can come talk to you about it if we feel we need to do a damage survey, but just that we know these things are happening.
For your news leader, I'm Jacob Morse.
Satellites and drones are newer technologies being used to help pinpoint and assess damage in rural areas.